go ahead and get rolling. I'm thrilled today that we have Phillip Stutts with us. He's the author of Fire Them Now, The 7 Lies Digital Marketers Sell and the Truth About Political Strategies That Help Businesses Win. And it's a great book, and we'll talk more about it here in a few minutes. But also, the main reason for our conversation today is an article that Phillip published on Medium a while back, and I've shared the link in the chat for anyone that would like to check that out. He did some incredible research that we'll review into how marketing has changed in light of COVID-19. And he has an exciting announcement for us today, which makes this even more interesting. But I'm Jamie Paris. I'm president of the Birmingham chapter of the American Marketing Association. We're really glad to have you guys here. And we hope that this webinar serves you well on a weekly basis. Use the chat to send any questions our way. We love to get input and love to take this down paths that interest you. We also would love to get ideas for future webinars, because we're going to do this as long as this serves our community well, since we're all disconnected and separated right now. So this webinar is one way that we hope we can bring people together and share information as we're trying to navigate this. So any ideas that you have for topics, feel free to share them. Well, so Phillip, you have worked on 3 presidential campaigns in the last 25 years, 1,273 election victories. So tell us a little more about the path you followed.
Well, first of all, I have to tell you about my failures. I actually have worked on 8 presidential campaigns. 3 of them won, 5 of them did not. So many, just like anybody in life, I've had lots of failures along the way, but I think that also kind of makes you better at what you do. But yeah, listen, I'm from Birmingham. Went to the University of Alabama. You can probably see my sign, Nick Saban, the helmet in the background. You know, after college, I was just itching to go work into politics. Moved to DC after I graduated, which was in 1997, and worked in politics, political campaigns, running campaigns, became a consultant on campaigns, and did that up until about 2015. And then I went, ooh, the world's changing and I need to adapt. So we created sort of a digital marketing agency for politics. You know, we were ad makers, but really on the digital front, but we do a lot of traditional now too, just to adapt into everything, you know, on the creative and messaging side. And so we've grown that business from 0 to about 35 million in less than 6 years. I have no outside investors and I don't have any debt, and still don't have any debt even today, even though that business frankly has been completely paused, and we've suffered our first losses since March in the history of our company, and we're fine. We'll figure it all out. I'm not too worried about it. And then I kept having business owners come to me and say, the way you run political campaigns, I'm utterly fascinated by that. Can it affect my business? And so I said, oh, that's really interesting. And so we started working for a few companies, and we started having really very huge results for them. We couldn't, you know, we were like, wow, why aren't all marketers kind of working this way? And then I went out and interviewed 100 business owners for the book, and from Fortune 200 CEOs to small businesses. And I kind of found this common element of, you know, why I call it Fire Them Now, but it's these 7 traits that marketers use that I don't think are ethically sound. I'm going to tell you something that's the strangest thing you're going to ever hear. The business of marketing and politics, not the way we market, but the business of it is much more ethical, in my opinion, than corporate marketing. Sorry, I'm not taking a shot at anybody. I'm just, and I lay out why that is in the book. So it's kind of interesting. And then how we run campaigns. And then we decided, it was really interesting. So we started getting businesses to come into work with us, but they would go to our website and they would see a bunch of politicians on the webpage and they'd go, I'm not really interested in that. And we went, oh my God, we have a branding problem. And so we ended up separating the 2 companies. We have Win Big Media, which is a corporate marketing agency. We work with publicly traded companies, Fortune 200 companies, nonprofits, startups, all those kind of things, small businesses as well. And then we have a political agency, which is called Go Big Media. So those are the two separated businesses. I've focused more of my attention over the last 24 months on the corporate marketing side. And then the last thing I'll tell you guys is I have a partnership with the largest data, AI and analytics company in America. And we were utilizing this company to overlay customers of companies we worked with. So if we worked with a Fortune 200 company, we would take their customer base. We would overlay their customer base online, and our data partner would be tracking what these customers do, not necessarily what they say. And we were able to glean insane information off of consumers in order to market more authentically to the company's brand and to meet the customers where they are. And we sort of went, my God, this is kind of how we do it in politics. Because in politics, the first thing we do in a political campaign is we go poll the district or the state and we figure out what the voters care about. And then we make an alignment between what the politician cares about and the voter cares about. And that's how we propel ourselves to victory. And so we took that model and we applied it to our corporate work. And we started working with this data company. We started having amazing results with the companies we worked with. And I went to the data company and I said, look, you guys, we're charging $250,000 to $500,000 to the client to do this data work, but small businesses can benefit from this as well. And how can we ensure that small businesses have this kind of access to data, to the data that you guys have? And they said, good, you pay us 6 figures for a licensing agreement, and then you can charge what you want for your own client. So that's how we developed that partnership. Mm-hmm. In March, I asked myself a question in early March was, how do I want to be remembered a year from now? Which was sort of the impetus behind, seeing everything, where everything is going. And then how did I want to treat people, act accordingly and do the right thing in this moment? And And so we went to our data partner and we said, let's do the first consumer study on purchasing decisions as soon as we can. We actually ended up doing it at the end of March. It was great because that was after the lockdown. So we ended up getting a lot of great information. That's the information that you linked to, Jamie. Mm-hmm. And it has exploded because no one else has any kind of data out there like this. We modeled 4,888 consumers before the coronavirus hit. We did it in January, and we went back to them in late March after the lockdown. And then we were able to extrapolate all that data, model it against our database, which houses 200 million American consumers, 600 million connected devices. And we were able to extrapolate that survey. I've spent 5 figures investing in that survey. We were going to sell it to our clients. And when I went back to the question of how do I want to be remembered from a year from now, I thought to myself, well, we need to give it away. And we don't need to just give it to our clients. We need to give it out to everybody. So we made it available for public use for everybody out there. So that's what's uploaded right now. Then we decided to do it again because we think everything's changing on a month-to-month basis. So we are looking to last week of April. We have been compiling the data over the last
Philip, I think you might have frozen for just a second there. We'll see. I think you'll be right back. Let me know if anybody is hearing Philip right now. And he'll be on as soon as his internet recovers. All right, he bounced off, so he'll click on the link and we'll be right in. So what he's in the process of telling us is that he has just received another round of survey information. So we are actually the first to get to hear it, which is really exciting because he has about 1,000 interview requests, and we had already booked him prior to today. There he is on the way back in.
All
So,
right. Sorry about that. What was the last thing you heard?
well, so you were telling us about how you've spent the last week crunching all of this data,
Yeah.
and so while you were resetting, I shared that we were super excited that
Yeah.
we're the first to get to hear this new data, and that you have about 1,000 interview requests right
Yeah,
now.
I do. And it just came out. We just got it back today. I have literally spent 4 hours going through it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give you kind of top line overview, hopefully to help everybody here. And really all I want you to do is just take it back to the people you work with and implement it, because you have a window. This data is going to give you a window into the American consumer 3 to 6 months before anybody, your competition, or anybody catches up to understand this. And if you take advantage of it right now, you can massively benefit your clients, the companies you work with, and your nonprofits, whatever it is that you do on the marketing front.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah. And we really appreciate you sharing it with us.
Sure.
First, it is kind of exciting for me because the Venn diagram of people that Gary Vee has interviewed and people that I have interviewed now has exactly one person on it. So that's like pretty exciting for me, because I think I've only ever interviewed 4 people. So
Well, there you go. You got 25% conversion rate.
yeah, I tell you. But so, well, to frame this conversation about COVID-19, you've said that we're probably in the most disruptive moment in human history. And I love the Peter Diamandis illustration about New York that you shared in your book. And I'd love for you to share that with us. And the interesting thing is that you said all of this about the disruption that we're experiencing before COVID-19.
Yeah.
So that was the world we were living in, and now it has been multiplied.
It's been accelerated massively. So the things that I've been screaming about for a few years now, I don't seem like a heretic anymore. I'm more on message. So look, the part I talk about in the book is there is in 1900, there's this picture, Peter Diamandis, who is the founder of the X Prize business partners, Elon Musk. He has got a sort of a mastermind community I just spoke to. Peter's a buddy of mine. Traveled to China with him a couple of years ago, and we did not come home with the virus then. But he has this slide that he uses that I actually stole in my speeches now, and I credit him, but I stole it. And it's basically a picture of a city street in New York in 1900, and it's all horse and buggy. And then there's a city street in 1913, same city street in New York, and it's all cars. And that really was back in that time, that was the most disruptive moment in human history. And we are on such a faster scale of that right now. Whether it be, AI, what we've seen just in the last 6 weeks is we have now trained anybody 60 plus to use the economy online for the first time ever. Not that they didn't use it online, they're primarily using it online. They're using it in ordering groceries and joining virtual gyms. All of a sudden, we're training the most reluctant part of the economy on the online purchasing behaviors, and they have been trained now to make it as their primary source of purchasing decisions. And so, whether, and one of the examples I use in the book, and I'll tell you guys, it's like, not that automated cars are coming. I mean, we're 2 years away from automated cars being in place, not mass scale or anything like that, but we're 2 years, right? My 7-year-old daughter will never drive a car, because by the time she's 16, they will be at mass scale. And it's not that automated vehicles are on their way. We know that disruptions happen. It's sort of the second and third order consequences of those disruptions. So like, what happens to city and state governments when they can't collect parking and speeding tickets anymore because the automated cars will park legally and drive the speed limit? What happens to emergency care workers when we have 200,000 less automobile accidents every year, 35,000 less deaths per year? What happens to car insurance companies, or people that do car insurance, when 99% of our automobiles will be safe? They won't have accidents. And so there are all these and then the greatest one of them all is when you have 35,000 deaths that are saved a year from auto accidents when you go to autonomous cars. What happens to people on organ donor lists? Do they die? How do we make that up? And so there are all these consequences. I've just given you one. There's 10,000 different industries where this is going to happen. Right now, brick and mortar, retail, or restaurants are in a massive disruptive moment. Massive, right? Restaurants, I don't care if they're, I mean, absolutely. It says in the data, people are ready to go eat out again. I ate out at a restaurant last night, outside of a restaurant, but we've reopened in Florida, and it was incredible. But when you have to have social distancing and your bar can only have one seat every 6 feet, restaurants can't make money at 65% capacity. And so a lot of restaurants are going to be gone forever. Same with brick and mortar retail. The second and third order of consequence of that is commercial real estate.
Oh, yeah.
It is going to be massive. We've also trained the entire economy for the last 2 months, right, to work online, to use Zoom every single day. Not that people aren't going back to their office. That's not what I'm saying. But there will be a segment of society that says, why do we even need an office anymore? And that will be gone. Is it 10%? Is it 15%? Is it 20%? That is a massive number when it comes to commercial real estate. Not even mentioning how, or also mentioning the restaurant industry that's going to be massively, how many is it? 30 to 50% of restaurants may not come back. Brick and mortar retail, for 10, 15, 20% may not come back. So there, and then, so there are fundamental disruptions and second and third order consequences of those. And that's just one we're seeing right now that's happening.
Yeah. I need you to do me a favor and try to keep Bud and Allie's in business down there.
I'm trying.
I need that to be there when.
Right. As long as the upstairs bar is open, I'm good. Right.
Yeah. Well, so what were the big takeaways from your report? You know, and for us as marketers and communicators, and tell us about your big 3 takeaways that you drew from all of the data that you gathered.
So, yeah. And so the first data report, something became way clear, crazy clear, brand new economy. You know, I said what I considered, I called it the Instagram economy, is dead. The economy of, if, you know, and I'd even tell you this, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, and you're bragging about how great your life is right now, it's completely tone deaf. Nobody wants to see that. It's the same thing for a business, right? We know somebody where we live, they post a picture of their husband was in his bathing suit, she was in a bikini, and it said, living the greatest coronavirus, you know, life ever or something. And they're holding up a glass of wine. And they also had laid off some employees in the husband's business a couple of days ago. This, like, you can't, it doesn't matter if you're in that position or some other position. People are looking at you right now, and they really only care about 3 things. And so the economy that existed for the last 8 years that said, look at me, let me show you how great my life is, you can be like me, show you the significance, show you status, oh, you can get money this way in the marketing, right? You can be wealthy if you just buy this product or service. And by the way, that's what the data said. Consumers were literally, their brains got trained into buying for those reasons. And we marketed our companies we work with for the same reason. So, but that is completely doesn't work right now. And if you market your business, market your companies that way, you're going to lose a lot of money. Really, there are only 3 factors. And the new study that we got today will reconfirms that these 3 factors are the most important things you can market on right now. It's trust, it's safety, and it's helping others. And so your brand, you know, on your website, your video content, your marketing campaigns, your ad dollars, all of them have to fundamentally shift to make sure the consumer understands that you are meeting them where they are, not you just talking about what you want to talk about. What's been fascinating in the new report that came out today, and I'm going to do a lot of work on this over the next few days, but there's one part of that is clear right now. It was clear in the first report, but when you see the first report, you know, you kind of need to see a second set of data points that confirms it. You have to emphasize local. Local is everything right now. Right now, I'm going to look at my notes, because I just wrote this all out today. The other disruption, Jamie, I'll talk about is globalization. So although online is global, you know, and you know, you can have a business in California and people in Birmingham are going to buy from an online business. the ability to market yourself in some way by saying, I'm local, I'm here to help the local economy, I want to help local businesses, I want to help local residents. That kind of messaging is incredibly important right now. So media coverage, where 38% of all Americans are consuming, or 38% increase in local media coverage amongst all American consumers right now. A 38% increase. That's in the last, that is in the last month. People are consuming it because they go, the cable networks are partisan. I don't care if it's MSNBC or Fox News or CNN. They're all coming from one slanted position. But if I go to my local news, I'm going to hear my neighbor, or I'm going to hear my mayor, or I'm going to see a local business doing something good, helping others. All the stories you're seeing on local news right now fundamentally address safety, trust, and helping others. And really, you know, you've just got to emphasize local. It's what people trust right now, right? They want to support their community. They want their community to come back. So whatever business you're in, even if it's a national business, talk about how you're helping local residents or helping local people or helping local charities, and be specific to what that is. That is an incredibly insightful trend that is continuing to go up from the first set of data we looked at. The other that gives me sort of clarity on this local is there's a lot of questions in the second report we'll have up. Again, it'll come up either today, late today or tomorrow. But it looks at how the American consumers are looking at government. So right now, federal government is fallen in its trust amongst American consumers. I think partially it's because we've gotten we've gotten all these bailouts, and they don't need the federal government anymore, so they go back to distrusting the federal government. But local government trust is through the roof. So again, I think it's something like 48.9% of American consumers right now trust the federal government. 48.9. That is compared to 73% of American consumers trust local government. So I can read between the lines. All I've ever done is interpret data, read between the lines, and understand that. That is telling me clearly that partnerships with local businesses, if you're a national business, partnerships with local governments, where you're helping the community, these things are going to help your brand and your business. Now, what we're also seeing is there is a bit of a stagnation among consumers and going out into the economy. They're tightening their budgets, and that has not changed in the last month. But one interesting bit that we found in this is there is a lot of confidence coming back amongst consumers. And this is a trend that I would say, as long as we don't have sort of a, you know, the coronavirus doesn't come back and we shut down again, then we are on the precipice of American consumers spending money again on products and services. Okay, because you think about whether it's PPP funding that helps businesses and helps employees keep their jobs, or it's people that just got a $2,400, $3,600 check from the government because their family, they've got cash. Now, they may have paid for bills. There's a segment of society, probably 20%, that's using it to survive. There's 60% of society right now that's just breaking even. That says, I'm already getting my paycheck. I haven't lost my job. I get to keep this money. And it's sitting in a bank account because nothing's open. And as things come up open, they are going to open it up. And remember this, I think on average, the average American has $400 in savings. That's it. It's crazy. But my point is that they got $3,200 or $2,400 or $1,200 sitting in a bank account, they're going to spend it. And if you aren't positioning your brand and your business and jumping out into the market right now to get ready for this, if you wait until they already spend their limited dollars, you will miss the moment. And there's been such an influx of government cash into the economy that there should be a pretty good bump in confidence. And we're seeing that right now. The fact that the loans were made, that the checks were out, has created confidence. It hasn't created the consumer to go, all right, I'm ready to spend it. But that's the next step, is I've seen patterns and I'm looking at that pattern.
So now is the time to position yourself and to get out into the market. but not in a self-promotional way, doing it by serving your community, doing it by helping others, do it in ways that build trust and that reassure the consumer of the safety of your product and the safety of the
Totally.
approach that you're taking as you enter the market.
Yeah,
Who do
that's
you think
right.
is doing this right now? Have you any good
Um,
examples of people?
Yeah, so I'll give you, well, why don't I'll give you some. So back in early March, we repositioned all of our clients. And just because I sort of am in tune to so much data, it was sort of in line with these things. And I've written about this before, but let me give you about how it's done. We did it right, and a company that we're trying to help right now that's doing it wrong. So, because I think it's a really good. And Jamie, we've kind of talked about, you work some with pest industry as well. We work with a national pest control company. We reposition them because if people are going to cut budgets right now, if every American family is going, what can I keep, what can I cut? Yep. We had to make sure that pest control services were an essential part of budgets. And so we didn't run out and say, coronavirus, hire a pest control company. Mm-hmm. We went out and said, you're quarantined in your house. This is what we position them all the way until about this, we're about to pivot them again because quarantine's over now, right? Or essentially it's getting to be over. So we position them to say, you're in your house, you're cooking every meal, you've got more trash in your house than ever. It's springtime, we're going into summer. Bugs and rodents are going to come into your home. The last thing you need is for them to bring their disease, their germs into your house. We're here to help. Our technicians will wear masks, we'll wear visors, we'll wear gloves. We'll let you go take a walk while we clean the house. We'll keep social distance. We'll do whatever it takes. We'll do whatever you need with your animals. We'll work around you, whatever you need. We're here to serve you and keep you safe. That messaging has crushed it for them. Crushed it for them. Somebody heard me tell this story recently. Pest control company. That was a startup. And they came to us and they said, well, we want you to do the same thing. We said, great. So we positioned them with all their messaging. But we went to them and they said they're building their website. They didn't need us to help build it. And we said, that's fine. So they said, website's up. And we looked at the website and we went, oh my God, that's not a good website. And they're like, well, we don't have any money. That's all. We're going for it. We ran the ads. They ended up getting 863 leads into their business in 1 week because people see this now message-wise as an essential. They converted 3. Why? Because their website, literally the text on their website went from one corner to the next. There was no spacing. It was the 2 owners on the website. And my assumption is that the prospects, the leads that came in, looked at it and went, hold on, these people are going to come in my house? Who are these guys? Why are the owners? What does the technician look like? The technicians don't have uniforms? Everything that we have been preaching, right, was you got to have safe trust in helping others. Well, it doesn't matter if your ads say that. If your brand isn't reflective of that, then you're going to have a major problem. And so these guys, they came to us and they said, we can't understand why we didn't convert these. And we said, guys, well, your website is embarrassing and it's not safe for the customer. And we told you this before you ran your ads. And so now they've taken the whole website down. They stopped all their ads. They're trying to raise some money and get their website redone so it is a trustworthy website. But that is like one of the examples that we've utilized. I've got others if you want. I'm happy to kind of jump into those.
I'm curious to get your opinion on these fundamental marketing truths that have been exposed by the virus. Do you think that this is one of those instances where these have always been the most powerful approaches in marketing, but because it was high tide and, Instagram was jamming, right, influencers were jamming, consultants and experts were jamming, that people were just riding other waves, and it's just the lowering of the water that has exposed these truths? Or do you think this is a new thing?
No, listen, I have so many business owners that have built their businesses slowly, steadily, not as fast as they've wanted on trust, safety, and helping others. Mm-hmm. But they weren't the loudest people in the room. Because the loudest people in the room got the most attention, and the most attention converted the most customers. And I say the worst example of this is the Instagram influencer that literally shows half their clothes on a beach. I call it the abs and ass economy. And they hold up some suntan lotion and they got paid $10,000 for the post. That's an extreme case, right? But that economy is dead. And influencers aren't dead if they have substance behind them. Consultants, coaches aren't dead if they ran businesses and then decided to go become consultants and coaches. But if you're 25 years old and you're an influencer and you have no substance behind your brand, you're trying to coach somebody, that's laughable now. And the key to the whole thing, Jamie, is we went from an economy of wanting things to an economy of needing things. And that people are only going to buy for need. And both data reports say the same thing on that.
Yeah, and needs, both fundamental needs like toilet paper, but also a need to feel a certain thing or a need to have a certain self-image as they navigate this crisis.
Yeah, I mean, we work for an organic food and product company, right? They sell organic soaps and toothpastes and deodorants and stuff like that. That does not feel like a need right now. Organic soaps and toothpaste. That is an expensive product, more expensive than anything, that Crest has or Dial soap has. But the owner, awesome owner, was basically like, let's double down because people need this right now. We just have to get the message out. They need organic products. They don't need pesticides and chemicals and things like that in their products that they're using, especially when you need a high immunity. I love that attitude. I love that attitude because it is a moment to double down and go for it. So, and I've got the notes from this because I just got this back yesterday. But here's the deal: we went out and tested all of these. We've just been crushing some markets, but like the assumption we made was with the message of don't use products with chemicals, don't use products with pesticides in them. Your family needs you to be high immunity. You need organic products, things like that. And then we also attach, I think he donated 100 masks for every purchase on his website. And so it felt like who would be the best market for that? And our data clearly said hot spots where the coronavirus had hit, because that people in the hot spots, right, would be more apt to saying, I'll do whatever it takes. Like that is a super neat. So we went out and launched the campaign in a bunch of different markets were hot spots. We did New York, New Orleans, San Francisco. We actually did a couple other big markets just to test. Now we tested these, right? We tested these messages before we went out and launched a big marketing campaign to see what would work. Well, in New York was the highest money-making market we went into, again, because people were so affected by the coronavirus. LA did not perform it well. The ads that did not perform were hand sanitizer line and their 21-day detox kit. Interesting, right? But we had to test these to figure out what would work. What did work, the highest performing ads so far, the ones that were directly linked to the coronavirus data, that where you don't compromise your family's health with toxic products. That was number one. Their skincare products crushed. And we also emphasize safety of natural plant-based products to support immunity. That message crushed. So safety, right? And like all the things I'm telling you, they may work in one market, they may not work in another. Some of those messages may just give you a 10x return and some may flatline, right? We go out and we take the three messages I just told you, helping others, safety, and trust, and we're testing them 100 different ways. We're going to find the top 10 that are crushing all over the place, the geographic regions, and then we're going to optimize that constantly. Mm-hmm. So that's how we've utilized that one company as well.
Yeah, building up that data to make informed decisions. And I'd like to share the slide on personal values. I'm going to put this up.
Go for it.
For everyone to look at. I would love to hear more. I think this ties in with some of the needs that you were talking about for people to feel a certain way about themselves and what is most important to them during this time. Can you talk a little bit about how this question was framed and speak to this data?
I can. So I'm going to change my screen so I can see the whole thing. Okay, so it's question 40 and 41. Really what it does is we ask American consumers this question 41, why they're making purchasing decisions. And then the second question is sort of subset. Of all the values that you indicated, even if up in question 40, they said like, you know, being successful and admired was one of the reasons. It's like of these that you indicated, like what influences you the most, right? So the way to look at this, especially in question 41, that represents 2.51 million American. Each point represents 2.51 million Americans.
Wow.
So if you're looking at 1313, 11.59, and even 8.78 and 7.55, the first five. I mean, you're talking about 50, 60 million American consumers that are saying that's the only reason they're making these purchasing decisions. If I was to look at this question 3 months ago, it would be completely reversed. Completely reversed. The top personal values. This is how screwed up we were as in the economic value system that we bought from. The top reasons people bought were avoiding or upsetting, or having a life full of excitement, novelty, and challenge. Again, think of that Instagram influencer. Think about Coca-Cola. I mean, I can even give you an example. Coca-Cola has gone completely the opposite direction right now in the way that they are marketing their brand. And I have my notes somewhere, but I have how they were 3 months ago to where they are now, but it's basically what you're looking at. They've gone from showing you how great everything is to saying they care about you. It was also about acquiring wealth, status, and influence. Making, it says maintaining a good public image. That's basically, hey, I want to show everybody I'm, people like me, I look good, I have a great image. And then like being successful and admired for your achievements. Again, think about the people that like take pictures in front of sports cars and show you how important they are. I mean, like that's extreme, but you saw this on smaller levels. You see this with people just posting on social media right now. So people post on social media because they're like, look at me. We went from social media postings, just on, not marketing, but social media postings where 10 years ago, we were making, I said social media started as a movement, it moved into a business, and then it turned into a racket. 10 years ago, social media was used to connect with people we cared about. But then it got monetized. And then it became a racket where for the vast majority of people posting on social media personally right now, it's look at me, look at how great my life is, right? And that is not what you should be doing right now. It shouldn't be doing, like I said earlier, it shouldn't be your marketing. It shouldn't be what you do personally, because that is just being tone deaf. But that's where the economy was even 3 months ago. I mean, I'm talking February 1, that's where things were. Yeah. What we've seen for the first time in my 24 years of marketing is the personal values of the American consumer has flip-flopped completely. It's not, we've had personal values change in the, if I'm looking, Jamie, at the crash in 2008, 9/11, personal values changed, but they never flipped like something like this. Yeah. And so, I think this is a very good trend. And then the last thing I'll tell you, and I think for everybody listening right now, incredibly important to pay attention to this. We are absolutely 100% no doubt in a new economy. We're not going back to the old economy. And I give this example because I thought through this question, like what, or is this a new economy or not, a couple weeks ago. And then I thought, well, it's going to be 12 to 18 months before we have a vaccine, if we have a vaccine. But if the fastest, it can be about 12 to 18 months, because you can't give somebody a vaccine right now in a trial and they drop dead in 6 months from it, and we've given it out to millions of people. Like, you have to let the trial run for a long period of time to make sure the antibodies stay in your body and all that. Okay. So let's say we're 12 to 18 months out, or maybe now we're 11 to 17 months out from a vaccine. All right, we're talking about July, let's just say July 2021. How long does it take to vaccinate 319 million Americans, much less 7 billion humans? Years to get the amount of vaccine manufactured and out in the public and given out, right? So that is going to be a massive undertaking that will take years. Then let's say that's 2023, summer of 2023. Then now that we've lived with this for 3.5 years, what's the PTSD? of everybody living with this thing, having it spike, having it flatten, having it spike, having it flatten, going back in, going back out. Like that PTSD is massive, and that'll last a long time, years, right? So at a minimum, this economy that we have right now and we're seeing unfold before our eyes is 5 to 6 years. At a minimum, more like maybe 10 to 15 years that we'll be dealing with the coronavirus economy. And so the data we're seeing right now is not a flash in the pan. And although this is changing and moving, we don't know how it's going to settle, but the fundamentals are starting to take shape. And that's what we're walking through with you guys right now.
Wow, this is incredible. And I know a lot of you were fervently staring at the screen trying to process the numbers. I'd encourage you to check out the Medium article where Phillip shared this PDF that I'm looking at. The link is in the chat, and we'll send it in the follow-up email as well. And there's so much interesting stuff in here. I think there was only one piece of data that I didn't really trust, and I wonder if this has changed. It said, are you drinking less alcohol at home or more alcohol at home? And it said there was 10% of people had decreased to a large extent the amount of alcohol they were drinking at home, and 2.4 had increased it to a large extent. And I've got to say, I'm a 1%er here.
Yeah. Well, that was also taken in the first week of quarantine. So I would say that number would be, we did not measure that in the second round, Jamie, I'm sorry. I know that you're dying for it.
Yeah.
But we did not measure that particular question again. But I would say your instinct is probably right, that as this thing went forward, it grew exponentially.
Well, thank you for sharing that context, because that definitely helps me feel better about your data. So one thing that caught my eye was economic fears. So early on, so this data from early in the COVID crisis, people's concerns were around there being a recession in the economy or a possible decrease in wages. So kind of big picture things, but they were not as concerned about specific outcomes like foreclosure or repossession of a car or bankruptcy. And I wonder, as this thing grinds on, if some of these, big
not yet.
Yeah,
it's a great question. Not yet. The data is clear that those trends have stayed stagnant. That I looked at this morning on the news study, because the stimulus has come through. And if we don't open up again, though, and some states are opening up, right? So there's hope. And the confidence is really important, because that's why it's stayed steady. If we have a spike from the reopening, if everybody goes into quarantine, expect that number to change.
So just all we need is a couple $1 trillion every 2 months or so. And
well, we've had about $2 trillion pumped into the economy, and it's just sitting there right now, ready to be spent. So if you think about how much money is just sitting around right now, ready to be spent by businesses and by individuals, and we are not seeing consumers purchasing any differently than they were a month ago. They've stopped, right? They haven't stopped. They just are more careful. That's the same. But you have all this money sitting out there, and it's not being used yet. It's about to get used. And you have to decide as a marketer for your clients, your businesses, are they going to take advantage of the spike in spending that will come in June, July, and August? Yes. And if they are sitting on their hands scared to death, then they're going to miss a moment.
Yes. Yeah. This is one of those times where, so my example of this, I think this is the 4th webinar that we've done. So we started it in mid-April.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that hit us weeks into the crisis, because we weren't, as the American Marketing Association, we weren't prepared for this. But, sadly, we didn't see a global pandemic coming, but once it hit us, this has been something that has really helped us to stay connected with each other and with the community. And I regret that we didn't move faster, that we didn't start this in mid-March instead of mid-April.
Yeah.
But, here we are. So the companies that are going to thrive right now are the ones that are positioned and aggressive and use some wisdom and common sense and empathy in the way that they market. And so it's go time.
Well, I would tell you, you just nailed something, and we're seeing this in the data: empathy. If helping others, safety and trust doesn't inherently state that, let me state it very clearly. Your marketing has to have empathy right now. And it has to be authentic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of false empathy out there that you can see, people are running ads and they're showing, healthcare workers crying and all that stuff. And then they're trying to sell something, tone deaf, right? But your marketing, your brand, your company has to utilize these three factors in an empathetic and authentic way. And I think it's critically important right now.
Well, and that's something that impresses me about your work, and that I want people to hear is a lot of time when a data nerd is going on and on about data, it seems impersonal. But really, what you're talking about is listening. And you wouldn't think that it's such a novel concept to listen first and then take action, but I don't think it's as common as we expect. And so data really is about listening
It
to the
is.
consumer and understanding where they are, and so that you can act with empathy.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said, I'm in 24 years, I always think about the voter first before I talk to the politician about what they ever want to talk about. And it's the same thing. I love the business owner, but I care about the customer more than I do the business owner. And so that's why I've always been obsessed with finding out what they care about and finding alignment between the company and its brand and that consumer. Because if you can find that alignment, that's the secret sauce, man. I mean, that's just the secret sauce. You're going to convert and grow a business a heck of a lot faster that way.
Yes. Well, speaking of the customer, that Christine raises a great question. How is the data relevant to B2B? So when you're still selling to human beings,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of commonality there, I'm sure. But what have you seen specifically in B2B?
Yeah, listen, what I'm telling you is for your sales teams. It's for the people answering the phones in your companies. It's for everything, right? Incoming lead gen, who takes care of that? Do they have a script, or are they talking to that lead in a way that meets their needs, not what the company wants to talk about? So we work with they're $1 billion title company. Of private real estate, right? And we positioned them in early March and said, do you do virtual closings? They're like, we haven't done them before. I said, well, you need to do them now. And then we started marketing them to the real estate agents, every one of their real estate agents, saying, like, we understand the real estate market's going to change. We know you're nervous. You still have closings you need to get done. We will do virtual closings. We'll do whatever it is you need to, we're keeping our office clean. If you need to do physical closings, we'll do all those things. So it wasn't a sales pitch. It was an assurance that we took their needs serious. And I think in B2B, whether it's sales, or the sales team and the way they communicate, whether you market, we're doing one of our big clients that we just landed was a telehealth CRM company. So it's like an app that the doctor can have a relationship with the patient through the app about recommendations, things they need to be doing, things they could do with their diet, supplements, medications, checking up on them. And that company was sort of slowly moving along when we met them in December. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, telemedicine is about to blow up, right? But they have to market to those doctors right now, which is a B2B. And so we're saying the world has moved to Zoom. Though, in fact, I'll give you one other thing on the new data. Sorry, I'm going to read this, but I'll tell you. We have trained our brains to be a majority online economy, from the increases of streaming like Hulu and Netflix and everything. It's a 55% increase. Joining online gyms. So Peloton has like doubled their company in the last 6 weeks. People working from home using Zoom. People purchasing groceries online. People utilizing Amazon. 87% of the economy is now using Amazon. This is crazy, right? And the reason I tell you that is, like, some of these are B2B, or B2C, but what I'm telling you right now is, like, the B2B marketplace can utilize all this stuff because everything's going online right now, everything. And the most critical factor is you've taken this huge swath of the economy, pretty much 55 and older, that were reluctant to jump in, and they've been forced to learn it. And so a company that we've invested in recently, we noticed that there was a CRM company that has basically created a payment system like a PayPal, but for contractors and home builders. And we're going to expand it out into other networks. But they were the last part of the economy that hadn't gone online were plumbers and the contractors that you would use to build a house, right? And now we're going to take all those paper orders and they're done, and we're using the CRM basically create this online economy. And all of these contractors the business is like quadrupled month over month since January because now they realize they need to go online. So there's so many people that are doing it. Now I'm going to help work with them to position them properly. But these are the kind of things we're seeing on the B2B world as well.
Well, and I loved what you said about sales teams being so critical right now, and we've seen that in our customer base, right, where a company that positioned around the kinds of messaging that you're talking about transformed their sales team overnight from a bunch of guys and gals standing in a room looking at each other like, how do we sell in a time like this, to like they had a sense of purpose. They felt like they were helping their community by going out and selling, and it energized things. So I think you hit the nail right on the head. And
look, I paid this data, both data reports. I've invested $25,000 into each one of these, and we decided to give it away for free because even people, 99.9999% of people will never talk to me again or never see me again, but they could take this and utilize it with their clients or in their own companies. I think I told you this, Jamie, we've had over 35,000 downloads of the first report. There's no funnel in that report. You don't have to put your email into it. We just said, nope, everybody needs to see this. The funny thing is, as many as that is, and how many people have downloaded the first report, that's a drop in a massive ocean on business owners in this economy. So what we're telling you is still incredibly relevant and unique, and a glimpse into where we will be in 3 to 6 months and how you can take advantage of it right now.
Well, and I love that perspective and attitude. And you've given away 35,000 copies of something that you paid a tremendous amount to produce. I have a feeling that your lead flow is not hurting at the moment, because when you give and share, it comes back around. So
it has, but
all are doing well.
Karma is something I'm a big believer in, but it's not my intention. If it happens, it happens. Honestly, it really is how we've looked at it.
Altruism is a philosophical question, but it is a benevolent cycle where you can do good and do well and win and help other people win. So I think it's a very beautiful thing, and it is possible because of the way you were thinking before the crisis. I definitely encourage people to check out the book. The Kindle edition is actually on sale right now for $3.99 on Amazon. So there's paperback and hardcover there as well. But
and I'd also tell you, if you want to learn about how I'm seeing the economy disrupted, I just wrote a Medium piece. I put it out on Friday. It's had 23,000 reads at this point. And it's basically the 4 industries I think are going to be disrupted. And a lot of that is talked about here, but you'll go into there. There's a great interview I have with Peter Diamandis you can watch on it as well. And in my Medium, I think handle is Phillip Stutts. But I mean, you can, if you just go to my page from the link you provided on the other post I have, then you can go to see the one I just put out on Friday as well.
That's great. Yeah, I look forward to checking that out. And I loved. So as we look to wrap up, because we know a lot of folks have 1 o'clock calls and meetings. In your book, the 7 lies, lie number 4, your product or service is amazing. You know, that should be your message and your starting point. And that just ties right into exactly what we're talking about. You're not tooting your own
Well,
horn.
I mean, you know, it's one of those things where every business owner, and I'm no different, loves and is proud of what they've built. So they think that they should just go talk about what they're proud of to everybody and they'll grow their business. And a lot of marketers play into that because they get easy money by saying, you're amazing. This is an amazing product. And
Yeah.
it may be, it's not that. It's, well, what are the consumers, customers, clients, what do they actually think?
Yes.
And that's how we always think about it and start from it, from that standpoint.
I've enjoyed this so much.
Thank you.
I wish we had 2 hours, but
Man, I know.
in closing, so one thing I'm curious if it has changed, if your perspective has changed since your book. You have a great chapter in there on going negative, because
Yeah.
you've learned lessons in politics that you're applying in business, and I wonder whether that's something I struggled with. It's
Yeah.
not it would be a new perspective for me.
Oh,
And
yeah. You want me to jump in?
Changed, at least for this time.
So I come from politics where we a foundational part of our marketing is negative ads, and everybody hates them, but we do them because they work, right? And so I've introduced this to most of every client we've worked with by saying you need to run a comparative, we call it comparatizing, right? Comparatizing. So it's not negative ads, it's comparative advertising, just, you know, I brought it together. But and you need to do it in a way that doesn't offend anybody, doesn't hurt anybody, but endears your customer client base to your brand or to your company. And we've had insane success with it. And so one client we just got off the phone with before this, they're a 104-year-old furniture company, and they are all in the Southeast, right? And so when I saw this, oh my God, this local, how important local is. These guys are local all throughout the Southeast. And so I said, would you be open to testing out a marketing campaign on running a comparatizing sort of campaign from saying we're the, you know, going against the national furniture sales guys, right? So instead of like, we're not like the national guys, you know, we're here to serve the local community. In fact, during the pandemic, we did this, this, and this. We're here. And that's how we draw the distinction. That draws the consumer in. They're dying to buy local right now anyway. So now you're just giving them a reason by doing a comparative ad that doesn't offend anybody, doesn't hurt anybody. We work with a major national apparel brand. They're a competitor to Lululemon. So this is like one of their t-shirts I'm wearing right now. It's a very comfortable shirt. But they said, we're getting outmaneuvered in the marketplace by Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour. So the data said that their customers hated those cheap brands. So we ran a campaign that said, don't buy your clothes from a shoe company. And then the tagline was just don't do it, which is a play off Nike. And that ad converted more men, not women, but more men than any ad we ran in the history of our ad campaign.
Wow.
And that's because people were like, yeah, you know, they basically said, that's like me. I think like that too. And that's what we're trying to get out of the conversion. And so there's an art and science behind it. Don't do it. If you're not being smart, following the data, making sure it's a sort of the consumer or the client sees it and has total agreement. We've done this with a supplement company where we found in the data their customers hated soda. So we ran an anti-soda campaign. It was the highest performing ad by double against the second highest performing ad. It doubled it up. And so every time we've done it, we found unbelievable results. And frankly, I'm writing my second book right now, but my third book is going to be about this topic for sure. It's I'm obsessed with it right now, actually.
Well, I think those examples really illustrate the spirit of it and a great path for handling it with a light touch in the current situation. And well, thank you so much for your time. This has been tremendously valuable to me, and I know it has been to the marketing community in Birmingham. So check out Fire Them Now, the 7 lies digital marketers sell. Check out Phillip's website at phillipstutts.com, and check out the American Marketing Association at amabirmingham.org. Thank you, Phillip. Welcome back virtually to Birmingham.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
We hope to see you around sometime soon, and we thank everyone that joined us today.
Thank you, everybody.